on this guy. First, I realized that this tapping with my pen causes some grief with the audio. If you looked at the previous video, you may have complained about that. Sorry. Try to avoid it. Just a nervous habit. So anyway, I got her all wiped off. Just vacuumed it. Crevice tool and everything. And a light wiping down with a slightly damp cotton cloth. I used to get the worst of it off, and you know, she cleaned up right nice. I'm not going to do a Q-tip detailing on this guy, this gal. A little bit of smokiness to it, but this is she's my roughneck, so just let her be. I already have looked underneath the hood, and there are some troubles with it. You know, turns out, as often is the case with something of this age, these were made in the 1950s. Some troubles have showed up with it that are going to have to be addressed. The last time I used this, which was about a year ago, and she worked just fine. But, you know, normal maintenance, sometimes you look under the hood and it reveals things you might not have otherwise noticed. Yeah, so maybe some preventative measures. So, before we look under the hood, a couple of notes about these three electrolytics here. As I said, these are replacements. Normally in this amp, they did not have capacitors with these cardboard covers on them. Those are meant to be insulators. These are universal replacements made by Cornell or CDE. Pretty good quality stuff. As I mentioned in the previous video, the technician that installed these did it right. There's not one thing I would complain about with that guy's work or that gal's work. But yeah, these are universal. So in some applications, the cans would be hot, and you just can't leave them exposed. So they put these cardboard covers on them, and they're held onto the aluminum can with tar. And they also, they always chuckle over this. The ratings, the capacitance ratings of these, and all three of these are like this. I don't want to stick my head too far in here, but let's see, this one, it says 16 to 20, or I'm sorry, 15 to 20. 15 to 20 microfarad. Okay, somewhere in there. But these guys know it doesn't matter. The difference between 15 and 20 is nothing, especially when you're talking about devices that are rated at minus 20 plus 80 microfarad. But technicians, and, you know, or laymen even, that would look at this and they say, oh, I have to get exactly that capacitance capacitor to replace this one that's bad. No, you don't. Not where these are in circuit. It doesn't matter. You know, plus minus 80, it probably worked just fine. I'd go on the plus side if you can, but not too far. If it says 20 here, don't stick a 100 in there, but don't be worrying about a 40 or a 15. It'll work just fine in most cases, so don't worry about that. Every one of these I've had, or I have, has the original capacitors in it, except for this one, obviously, and one other one which I had to replace one because it developed a trouble, which wasn't a the capacitor actually itself did not fail. What failed was the connection from the capacitor inside here to the terminal. That's a separate video, but very interesting. I think they used Mallory's in the originals. I could be mistaken about it. I'd have to look. But whatever they use, they're of pretty high quality. yeah, as I said, they run these things pretty cool. The capacitors, these electrolytics are rated for 500 volts. And the B plus supply in here, really only on one of them, I believe it's this one, is actually anywhere near that. So that'll go a long, long time. Obviously all the tubes are out of it. The shields are off. I've cleaned all those up and had a look at some of them, and they're mostly junk. As I said, this is my roughneck, and she don't mind. These 3 octal sockets here are where you would plug these microphone the transformers in. These you convert the high impedance circuits going into these preamplifiers to low impedance for microphones. Now, there are 3 XLR inputs on the back, corresponding to 3 mic volume controls here, corresponding also to these 3 tubes and these 3 sockets. Right now it's configured for high impedance input on all 3 XLR inputs by these look like staples, essentially are staples. They're just jumpers, and if you wanted a low impedance input, you put this transformer in. I don't use low impedance stuff here. I have, but I don't sing, so. And the obligatory UL. Notice it's only on here. You won't see that here. But these, because it's a link to a microphone, and there have been incidences. These have been tested by underwriters' laboratories and determined to be done right. There are different models of these that can plug in here. They're all wired the same way. I think there's 3 different models. I assume that I have not looked it up. I don't care. But I assume that's for different impedance setups for whatever kind of mic you're using. This has 2. It has, as I said, 3 microphone inputs associated with all this. It also has 2 auxiliary channels, and these are basic line level channels. Those are mostly what I use. If I do use one of the mic inputs, it's for guitar and it's high impedance, so this is useless for guitar. These are handy to have for some other stuff, which I might get into later. So anyway, that's what that's about. So what else? There's no master volume control on this. Each one is independently controlled. It's got 5 inputs, 3 mics, 2 auxes. It also has a bass and treble control. Very nice tone stack in this. It looks like it's pretty close to Bandaxol. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to mess with it. You know, some folks, you're going to play guitar through that. You need to change the tone stack. Oh, no. You don't need to do that. You just got to get used to the settings. And one of the things odd and peculiar to some of these, usually to the clockwise means up, right? Volume controls, clockwise, up, higher, increase. Treble control, yep, up. Bass control, on this guy it's backwards, and it's labeled as such. Not sure the reason. I've not looked into it. Don't care. Nevertheless, the bass control is when you turn it clockwise, you're turning the bass level down, bass response down. Not sure why they did that. Not at all. Maybe it's something I can fiddle with later. It may have only had to do with convenience of lacing the tone stack. As I said, this isn't just some stupid resistor and capacitor. It's a full tone stack. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd have to really study the schematic for this. It might actually be boost and cut, but I'd be curious why they labeled the dial the way they did. Don't know. So anyway, there's at least the front of the tone controls. Put this guy up. Oh, jeez. You'd be surprised at how much this thing weighs. And then get a look. So I hope that view shows. If not, I'll just redo this. Big honking power transformer. The same thing with the output transformer. I mean, this thing's rated for 20 or 30 watts, depending on something. You can crank over 50 watts through this iron, and it would just sneeze at you. There's the rectifier goes there, 5U4 GT. Some people are tempted to put diode or silicone diodes in place of this. Don't do that. You can, but you got to really be careful, and describe that later, hopefully. A couple of 5881s. It's interesting. This particular chassis is an older one, and it only has 5881 listed here. When indeed maybe the 6L6GC hadn't come out yet, a competitor to 5881. By the by, if you can get tongue saw, genuine tongue saw 5881s, they're the best tube ever for this amp. They'll outlive you, and they kick. Some people don't like them because they're a little tight, but mess with that. Plug in what you like, what works. 12AU7, 12AU7, 12AX7, and that's what the microphone input tubes are. Well, that's it up top. Alright, so good work. What's underneath? Let me take a quick look. Okay, I guess that works. Sorry about that. So, as you can see, there's a heck of a lot of real estate under here. Not packed real tight. Always a good thing. These except for a couple of things up here, makes these things very, very easy to service, modify. If you're a hacker with these tube amplifiers, if you can get your hands on one of these, do it, man, because there's all these tube sockets and holes pre-punched, and there's all this kind of stuff you can rearrange and modify, and if you're going to be doing that stuff, you want one of these or something like it. I'd take this over a Fender anything, any day. Any day. Just for that reason alone. No turrets, circuit boards, or any of that stupid. Oh, I mentioned I have 15 of these things, and I've worked on all of them, at least serviced them, checked them out. I have never, ever once had to clean a pot in any of them. Just, I don't know what it is. I think they're using standard issue CTS and pots in there. These aren't, to look at them, there's nothing special about them. But I've never had to clean a pot. I don't know why. I think these come from all over, from all different installations, and being as old as they are, that's remarkable. But anyway, there's a tapping thing. Sorry. I've not plugged the tubes back in since I pulled them. Partly, well, there are things I want to check out before I put any tubes in and get B plus up and running and everything. There are other supplies in here that need to be examined. But before I do that, I give a visual inspection. And daggone it if I didn't find some troubles just from that. Namely, first out of the gate, these two coupling, big honking coupling. I love these pink tiny cheeks, except that they're pretty, you know, and they were, you know, pretty good stuff back in the day, but they were not without their foibles. This one's cracked, so it's got to be replaced. These are paper capacitors, molded, plastic molded over paper and foil capacitors. So, you know, you see something like that, this crack, you probably cannot see it, but you see that, you start, and I know a lot of techs, the repairs and restorers complain about these things. I generally don't swap these out as soon as I see them, like some people do. I'll test them, you know, hey, if it's working, stays put. Unless I see a crack in it. Bad mojo. That's got to go. And because of where these are the coupling caps between the phase splitter, phase inverter if you like, and the output tubes, 5881s. So I don't want one of these leaking. And I want them to be the same. As it happens, I got some. So actually they're made by the same company, Cornell. Same value, same voltage, but these are more recently manufactured. It's funny they don't put date codes on these. But anyway, they've already gone through and picked out a matched pair of capacitance-wise to replace both of these. If you're going to do this one, you should do this one. Chances are this crack, it may have already begun. I just can't see it. So both of these got to go. So you see, it turns into from just a maintenance checkout to a repair endeavor, exercise. So I've got these two for that. I don't even know what the value of this is. I've not looked. I have a schematic for this. In fact, speaking of that, these amplifiers, like I said, Dukane, they did it right. They always had a full schematic and parts list on the bottom cover for these. Of course, this would sit this way. This cover didn't come from this amp, but these chassis are all the same. This is a rack-mounted one. It just has a different bottom cover and rack part. This is the bottom cover of the same model that's with the cabinet. But they all have a complete schematic, and very helpful. Of course, you can get, I know you couldn't read that schematic, that's why I didn't hold it there, but that schematic is available online, easily found. Look up 1U460 or 1U460A. They're the same thing. Schematic's exactly the same. This is a 1C460, and I think the C just means that it was rack mount rather than the cabinet top, or however they would call it. So anyway, these two they gotta go, and that's so easy. It's about, for me, it'd probably take me about 20 minutes to swap those out. This one down in here has also got a crack in it. That's going to be a tougher nut because it's so buried down in here. And if I'm going to get into that, these two here, this one and this one, are probably the same value. Again, I'll have to look at the schematic, but they're probably .22s or .1s or something, judging by their size. I'll find out. I get tons of that crap, so it's not an issue with not having the parts. It's just how do I get this out with minimal grief? It's tight down in there, and I don't want to have to start undoing all this stuff. I think from the looks of things, if I get these out, I can move some of this stuff out of the way and slide both of these in that direction, get them out of there, slide the new ones in, attach those. I think that's going to be the plan. Of course, taking photos all along. Don't really need to do that, but because I have other copies of this, but if something becomes a question, where did this wire go? I got another one I could take the bottom off and look and find out. The technician that replaced these 3 power supply electrolytic, these multi-section guys, I'm convinced also replaced all of these ones that appear yellow, or maybe to you orange. Now these Sprague atoms. Date codes. These are date coded 1973, every one of them. And so clearly those were not original. I know they're not original just because I know these didn't exist in 1953 or whenever this thing was built. So it was completely recapped as far as electrolytics go. And judging by the workmanship all around with these, it was the same guy that did that. Very, very well done. I might replace a couple of these 2 for reasons I may get into later. I'll have to look further at that. Like I said, I've not put power to it since all of this. Let's see what else. This wiring here, this is not factory, not even close. Factory, with these amplifiers, was this cloth-covered shielded wire. Very flexible. It's in excellent shape. In every amp, it's still got this in it. It worked just fine. So for whatever reason, that same kind of wire, where it goes from the microphone inputs to the XLR connectors, is some other thing, and whoever, that's a butcher job. That's shame on you for doing that way. That was a hack that did that. Didn't know. An electrical tape wrapped around it, that'll help. Shield it from neutrons or something. So that's where we are with that. It's got 3 microphone stages. This particular amp, I only use one of them, which works. And if that one craps out because of some trouble, capacitor give up the ghost or something, who cares? I'll just swap to the next channel down. This is not a complete restore. I just want to take care of the obvious troubles. Future, it may have a trouble. It may not work right. I don't know if it would be because of this crack or that crack or not yet. But I'm not even putting any tubes in it until after I've swapped out these broken open capacitors. Him and him, and I did put a capacitor checker on some of these. I checked this one. It seems to be just fine. Tried to check this one because it's cracked, and because of where it is in circuit, I guess I didn't look on time. No conclusive measurements on that. These 2 actually check pretty good. ESR is a little bit high on them, but where they are, it wouldn't really matter. These ones I'm going to replace them with are matched, as I said, and they're also the ESR is not measurable, at least with the method I use. So that's the plan. Oh, what else about this guy? Well, there's some things about the circuitry, certain aspects of this that they did that I would like to explore. But to keep the videos of a more manageable size, I'm going to cut this particular one off, and that'll be the next one. I want to explore some of the things they did here and why they did it. That you're not going to get in a $200 guitar amp. No, you're not. But they're very helpful and for various reasons. So no, I think I'll cut this off here and get back to you with this. And oh yeah, we will be paralleling it up as I would normally do, something that I've never held before.